Please rise. Pledge of allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence for a sick, handicapped, recently departed in the military personnel of our community. Roll call.
Mr. Henderson?
Here.
Mr. Petroselli? Here. Mr. Colosimo? Here. Mr. Galaducci?
Here.
Mr. Verducci?
Here.
Mr. Shashalski?
Here.
Cimaroli? Here. Mayor Copeland? Here. Solicitor McDermott?
Here.
Engineer Brett?
Here.
I'm Joe Power. Chief King?
Here.
Assistant Chief Sigworth?
Here.
Chief Miller?
Here. Thank you. First up, our visitors, Paul Fryer.
Hi. Excuse me. I know you guys know about the death rate in Bridgeville being above average because of the pollution that we've had to deal with. I just wanted to show you a Pittsburgh Post-Gazette article that I happened to find that cites that in the Chartreuse Valley communities, Bridgeville, Heidelberg, and Carnegie, mortality rates, all three boroughs have had high lung cancer rates, 140% higher than the national. Heart respiratory rates that are also marked higher. And in total, the three boroughs have had mortality rates that are 36% higher than the national average, and there's some.
What's the date of that?
It's like 15, 20 years ago. Okay, but I was going to say primarily, and again, I know you guys know the causes of it, but just to go through it once again, the polluted air from the vehicle exhaust system is the primary offender, and that's from 50 years of the traffic congestion west of Bridgeville to east bound wind carries to our people. Excuse me. And the exhaust fumes from the now 86,000 cars a day that use I-79 that goes over the west edge of Bridgeville, the same wind carries the polluted air in our direction. And also the cement factory that we've had in the town, I don't know if their pollution rate is as high as it used to be, but it was considerable, and about a fourth of the homes, again, living west of on the east side of the factory, their homes and windows were constantly covered with dust. And the other thing is, for decades and decades, Bridgeville's been in an unfortunate position where the factories in South Fayette and Collier Township next to Bridgeville have been polluting the air. American Cyanamid, Universal Cyclops Steel, and et cetera. It's been obviously affected the lifespans of the people in the community. And I just wanted to provide you
Let me interrupt for a second. Mike had a question.
You brought your, I was going to disagree with, I mean, I agree with our air quality's bad,
yeah, right.
but it's, the biggest culprit is Universal and also, yeah, what's the other one right next to it?
General Electric used to.
No, there's two, what's that? Powdered products.
Yeah, but
Those are
keep in mind that it's the west wind, or the wind that blows to the east.
No, I'm keeping in mind, that you said your study's 15 years old. I'm talking about a study that was done like a couple months ago when it came out.
I love this.
Those are the two main polluters in this area.
So my reason.
It's still bad. I agree with you that our air quality is bad, but that's the main reason.
But the reason I brought it to your attention is I just wanted to make sure that you're in your comprehensive development, make sure that, that the 4 lanes of Washington Pike from Collier are extended through Bridgeville, and the 4-lane highway, 4-lane Bower Hill Road, which stops make sure that that's in your comprehensive plan. And it's not, I don't think that you're overstepping your potential likelihood to get the millions necessary to do that. Bridgeville has been shortchanged for decades by federal, state, and county agencies, and we have the facts. We'll get the, if your plan calls for those improvements in the transportation system, anti-pollution system, you'll be able to get the money for it.
I'm happy to tell you that we're making up some ground. We're getting a lot of grant money through the efforts of Joe.
No, absolutely. Matter of fact, I mentioned to Joe earlier today when I ran into him accidentally. This is on a different subject, but you know that vacant lot on the corner of Washington Avenue and James Street that the doctor purchased, build an office building? Please make sure that you have a parking authority buy that land, and I'm sure you can get some federal help in doing that. Because if that office building is built there, and they have 40 people and clients and occupants using that building every day, they'll occupy almost every other parking space in that lot. But anyway, the other thing I wanted to mention to you, I'm sure you all enjoy the 7-lane bridge and how it's created a new look for Bridgeville when you're looking into the town from South Fayette. I think I showed this to you a long time ago. I had made a tree arrangement, and I'm assuming that you guys are going to buy the additional 10 or 12 of those street lights to continue from the post office down to the bridge. But at any rate, this is 5 years old as well. But I had made arrangements with the Bethany Church and the post office that they'll allow you to plant trees. But you don't want to plant trees on the sidewalk. You want to plant it on their property. And the same with the fellow who owns the lease for the drugstore on the other side. But my point is, you don't have to plant these trees in a straight road. They can be offset, and it would be more interesting if they're not in a straight road. Make sure you illuminate them at night. Give a chance of, years ago, as you know, Upper St. Clair Township got, I think, $8 to $10 million to build a post office in their community because they didn't like our name being on their mail. And you can accomplish essentially the same thing in terms of improving the community.
Yeah, our planning commission is talking and discussing about it. I'll let Justine talk to that when she gives her report later. But a lot of what they're doing is talking about streetscape.
Yeah, no, I agree. Matter of fact, the sculptures that one of your committees, or I guess all of you, have erected on the community, very impressive. In other words, it shows advanced thinking, and it shows sophistication that I like, and I'm sure the public like the same here. Those are, you can read through these things and I'll put you.
Thanks, Bob.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Leroy Frederick. State your name and your address for me.
Leroy Frederick, 627 Baldwin Street, Apartment 1, Bridgeville.
How can we help?
Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone. My name is Leroy Frederick. I'm here to talk about a cause that is close to my heart: feeding the homeless and low-income families in the community of Bridgeville. Our mission is simple. We want to ensure that no one in our community goes hungry. As you all know, hunger is a major problem in our society and is a problem that affects not just the homelessness, but also the low-income families who struggle to put food on the table. At the same time, we also have a problem with food waste. We're perfectly good food is thrown away instead of being used to feed those in need. This is where our organization comes in. We are running a shoe drive to raise money to feed the community. We will be collecting essentially used shoes. We also are starting a meal box program where we will be giving 500 pre-packaged meals to the community. This meals will be distributed to those in need, including the homeless and low-income families. In addition, we will be starting a youth farm where we will be teaching the young how to grow their own food. This program will not only help to feed the community, but it will also provide value skills to our youth, who will be leaders of tomorrow. However, we need help in order to make our program a success. We need a building where we can store and distribute food. We're asking for support in a location. In conclusion, I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to me today. We believe everyone deserves access to healthy and nutritious food. We're committed to making reality in Bridgeville. Together, we can make a difference and ensure no one in the community goes hungry. Please support Feeding Bridgeville. Thank you.
Thanks, Leroy. I have a question. Have you spoke to the Meals on Wheels program or food pantry here in Bridgeville? Are you working with them at all?
I'm working with the food pantry across from Rite Aid, and I'm also working with 412 Food Bank, where I got my Safe Serve certificate, so they're going to come and bring 500 boxes to a location where I can distribute them to the community for free. Also, all the homeless people that's been in the community, if you go to my Feeding Bridgeville site, I actually go up to these homeless people and not just feed them, but have a conversation with them on video to give awareness about their situation, on why are they coming to the city of Bridgeville, why are they on the train tracks, why are they on our benches, why are they in front of our stores, what brings them to this area. And I'm shedding light, and I'm getting a lot of exposure on TikTok, Facebook, and my organization is a 501c3, and that's it.
Okay. Have they offered you any space to store some?
Right now, I applied for government grants, so that's what I'm in the process of now. I don't know if you guys have any spaces available or anything, but just throw it out there, that would help to complete my mission.
Okay.
How are you working with the food bank over at the church?
I'm working with Miss Rita when she has extra supplies, and then also when I start my meal box program, I'll be able to not only get supplies for them, but I'll be able to actually supply them with boxes and meals so they can do what they want to do. So it's a partnership.
We commend you for your efforts in helping folks through.
Thank you.
Okay, that's,
Can I ask you a question? Do you have a flyer about your organization?
Yes, ma'am.
Make sure to grab it, so I'm going to put it in.
we have that.
Here's one there. And I'm known as Imelda Marcos, and I can give you hundreds of shoes.
Thank you.
That is a good point, Leroy. We have our Bridgeville Day on the Avenue on Saturday. Will you be up there?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
They're also collecting shoes at Lozado Dental.
Yes, sir.
Up by
Thank you.
Kogo's.
Yeah.
They have a box in there, you can drop shoes off.
Yeah, Rosado Dental, if you want to, you could drop off there. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks. On with regular order of business. I need a motion to approve the May 8th, 2023 regular meeting minutes as submitted. So moved. Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. I need a motion to approve the June 2023 bill list. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. I need a motion to approve the June 16th, 23rd, 30th, and July 7th payrolls. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Need a motion to adopt resolution number 2023-6. The resolution of the Borough of Bridgeville requesting a Greenways, Trails, and Recreation Program grant of $250,000 from the Commonwealth Financing Authority of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for the Chartiers Park Greenway Trail Project. Note that this project is a recommendation from the Active Transportation Plan to reconstruct and complete the walking trail at Chartiers Park.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Need a motion to authorize disbursement of partial payment number 2, final to Sweet Construction Corporation, the amount of $10,018.75, $8,349 of that is paid by the borough, and $1,669.75 paid by Char West COG for the CDBG grant funding for the Triangle Park ADA Walkways project.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Park looks great over there, Joe. I need a motion to authorize the disbursement of partial payment number 4, final to Stash Contracting in the amount of $7,850.60 for the Baldwin Street and Margaret Street demolition project.
I have a question before. Is all their equipment gone from Baldwin Street?
I drove down there, I didn't see any.
He had an excavator there last week. Last he told me it was gonna be removed.
Okay.
He had to do some final hydro seeding that he completed last week.
Okay.
So everything's done. Yes.
Motion, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. I need a motion to authorize the execution of change order number 1 and final of the 2023 roadway improvements program, decreasing the contract by $14,638.37 based on the filed measurements and in-place quantities, and authorizing the disbursement of payment number 1 and final in the amount of $254,416.13 to Youngblood Paving Incorporated.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. I got in and out, huh?
It was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah. It doesn't happen very
That's
often.
October, November.
Need a motion to authorize the advertisement requesting bids for the 2024 through 27 municipal solid waste and recyclable materials collection, disposal, and processing contract. Note the 4-year contract bid opening scheduled for August 7th, 2023.
I have one question. What was the reason we did 4 years? Just out of curiosity. Just,
4 sounded better than 5.
they actually gave us bids of 3 and 5.
Yeah. I'm open to any suggestions.
No, that's,
I
I was just curious on where the work came
I
from.
felt the temperature of the community based on the awarding of a 5-year bid last time. And I felt, to be honest with you, it split the difference, and that's why I came with 4.
It's been 5 years already? Seems
Good
like
job.
yesterday.
Good question. Does the borough have to take lowest bid?
It's lowest responsible bid.
Lowest responsible bid. Okay, hypothetical. If one of the lowest bid happens to be a company that there's been a number of issues with regarding community trash hauling, that type of thing, can that bid be removed or overwritten?
Strictly hypothetically speaking.
Strictly hypothetically.
Yes, in reality, based on, yeah, case by case basis. That's all I can say.
Thank you.
And the specs that are in this RFP are solid or are cemented as is? Or,
No, what I was hoping to do is after I finalized the agenda, there was a bid opening last week for a COG that does a number of the other communities around us. And there was a couple of haulers that didn't bid on that because the markets are changing. Right now our specs are unlimited trash. Some haulers aren't bidding on unlimited trash. They want to see automated service. So one potential bidder recommended that if we do put this out to bid, you bid as we have right now for status quo, but also put out there an alternate bid on automated service. An automated service would be, one man running a trash truck. That hauler would provide each customer or each house with a 96-gallon cart, and it would be automated. So I wanted to redo that section of that spec book, which is going to take me a little bit of time. There's more to that than meets the eye, because you have to sell a cart, buy a spec, deliver that cart. So that needed to get added to that. So in all theory, an August 7th bid opening, it is unlikely that that's going to be pushed back while we get that addressed.
However, we're considering both ways, not.
Yes, option A is status quo. Option B is just a recommendation from the larger haulers, and you don't have to take it, but at least when it comes time after bid opening, you can have a good discussion of what avenue you want to take. So, to answer your question, it's not concrete. So if there is something in there you see, please let me know within the next week or two so that we can get this.
So one of the things that I noticed in there was we're still including sofas and whatever as part of a weekly pickup.
The way it's written is that unlimited bags with 2 bulky items a week. So you
if-
could put out a sofa and a love seat.
Okay, if we go to automated, would that still be up to 10 possibility?
See, that's what needs worked out in specs. Typically, that would be, you would have to pay for that, get a sticker put on that. There's so much to this
Okay.
that once you start asking these questions that are reality, it's like,
Or the fallback is one a month, a
Yeah.
lot of them were.
yeah. That's exactly it, is that you would have like a bulk week where you could schedule it. But it wasn't as easy as now, so like, that change wouldn't be something that wouldn't, if we can keep as is, life's easier, you know?
What's gonna change the price too?
Yeah.
Like if you start doing that kind of stuff, like where you have to call extra, like what kind of price what's the base price that we're gonna be paying plus the extra crap? If we have other stuff, if we go to the automated thing.
See, we don't know
You know
that,
what I
so
mean?
that's why we have to write specs, so that we have bids for all this ahead of time. So it just
This
gives
is
you
just
time.
to explore whatever.
Yeah, I know, but that's the thing I'm throwing out there, like, we're already paying $50-some. I have 1 bag of garbage a week, I pay $50, a month, I pay $50, for that. But if I have stuff to put out there, I don't wanna be paying $50 for my 1 bag of garbage and then having to pay $20 for them to take something else that I can't fit in the can.
So
You know
keep
what I
in
mean?
mind that the price hasn't changed in 5 years.
I know, I understand all that, I'm
When
just
you
saying.
negotiated that 5 years, that was.
That's why we took the 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were fortunate where that 5-year contract only had a 1.5% increase each year. And then years 4 and 5, the borough subsidized versus passing the rate increases on. But it's fairly confident that these bids are gonna be much, much higher than what we're paying now, so.
And the writing's been on the wall in terms of transition to the automation as it's not just here, regionally throughout the country, as they start turning over the fleets and going, next generation of fleets is gonna be totally.
That's all good,
Automated, well, my point is that trying to remain non-automated in the future is actually gonna push your price up. They're actually trying to monetarily encourage folks by the automation prices is going to be more competitive in the future because everybody's transitioning to the automated fleets.
Mike, you had a question?
I was gonna say, when you write your specs, can you write them like to have what day you want the garbage to be picked up, like on Monday, or like what's more desirable for?
Mike's always pushing for Monday pickup.
There was a mention in the specs that were prepared, it does ask for a Monday through Thursday collection. So that's seat.
In a community of your size, it's usually up to work every
Okay, so,
But the specs that you have in front of you are not the same garbage contract that you currently have. I worked with a DEP consultant years past to put that together, and they just piggybacked it. It is a nice spec book where it puts teeth to the contract, so when you have issues down the road, Lord forbid, of like routine misses or major complaints, it institutes fines that you could take off the bill so that. Usually-
liquidated damages.
Correct,
covered.
and we didn't have that now, but now with this, hopefully we'll learn from that. So that you'll see it, and that's what all my highlighted notes in the back. Because like some of the dollar amounts, I was like, is it too much, is it too little, I wanted to get feedback on, so that's what that was.
so I forget, did we get the motion in?
Well,
Yeah.
are we gonna do in the motion the 4 years or 5 years or whatever? We have to figure that out and put it in a law.
Okay, here's, let's do this.
Okay.
Let's table the motion, and let's look through the bid spec book that you got, and let's have some conversation about this.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
We still have some time to get this in.
We have a month or two.
Yeah. I need a motion to authorize a disbursement of $91,200 from the capital project fund to Sports and Recreation Associates for invoice number 2, final for the Chartiers Park Playground project.
That's a move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Did I need to make a motion to table that?
I think technically.
Oh, I thought you did, yeah. What are you talking about, number 8?
Yeah. Okay, so I need a motion to table item number 8.
So
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Okay, I need a motion to authorize a disbursement of $54,746.41 from the capital project fund to A. Moranti Contracting Incorporated for partial payment number 4 for the Warner Street Slope Stabilization and Retaining Wall Improvements Project. Note that this work is for completed work on Union Street.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
What's our outlook for Warner Street right now? Do we have a timetable?
August 1st?
Last they told us was a tentative start date is August 1st.
I wasn't sure if that other project that we negotiated still.
No, that was, the bridge had to be done to facilitate a West Penn Power move, and then that's been done. And then the bridge is 100% completed by the end of the month. They had the final punch list walkthrough with PennDOT and the engineers today there, so that's nearing completion.
Awesome, thank you.
So need a motion for number 10? So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Need a motion to accept and pay any commission due May 2023 real estate tax collector report. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Need a motion to acknowledge receipt of the May 2023 treasurer's report. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. I need a motion to accept all submitted May 2023 official reports.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Okay, committee reports, administration, Nick.
Currently, I have nothing to report. I do want to commend everybody for all the great grant work and everything they've been working on, and look forward to seeing all the community this weekend at Naomi Avenue, Saturday, November 6th. Thank
Must
you.
be a good weather day. Any questions for Nick? Okay, finance, Joe.
I really don't have anything to report, especially since all I was gonna talk about is the garbage. So I have nothing.
Thank you, Joe. Any questions for Joe?
Probably talked enough about that.
Parks and Recreation, Joe Colosimo.
Okay, the new playground equipment on Chartiers is now completely installed. We're still waiting to hear about the new apparatus is going in up at Cook School. So hopefully next couple of months they'll be going with that. There's a new cornhole game down in McLaughlin Run Park. That's ready to go, but you gotta bring your own bags. Also, there's gonna be another one up at Cook School Park next couple of weeks. That'll be in place. As Nick brought up, Bridgeville Day on the Avenue is coming up Saturday. This is the most vendors we've ever had in all this Bridgeville Day, so it's gonna be, should be pretty interesting. A lot of different food vendors, and there's a couple new things for the kids with the Army, National Guard's bringing in a climbing wall for the kids to climb on. There's gonna be a miniature golf course down on Bank Street Extension. I don't know what that's gonna look like. I'll take a shot at that. But it should be good. It starts at 11, it's over at 6. We have the bands, thanks to Nick for picking up the bands for us. That's all I got.
Yeah, let me remind everybody, save some money, because there's gonna be some interesting people at the dunk tank this year. Save your money.
Who, Devlin?
A couple of people in this room, don't save money.
Mike?
Public safety, Bruce.
I don't have anything to report, sir.
Sir, any questions for Bruce? Mayor, Eddie Copeland.
The movie was well attended last week. Everyone enjoyed 12 Angry Men. The next movie will be June 23rd. And that will be bringing up babies, so we hope you'll come. It starts at dusk at Cook School Park. On June 14th is Flag Day. This year, the Knights of Columbus residents did not plan anything, and I just casually mentioned to a good friend, Glenn Schillo, that we should not drop the tradition of Flag Day, and he has put together a program. So it will be held outside here at the Borough Building, and Father Urocco will be part of it, and some others. So we hope you'll come. It will be a brief program, but we need to celebrate our flag. And that will be at 7 o'clock. Thank you.
Betty, did you happen to see in the Post-Gazette that they had a little article about the Friday night movies?
No idea.
Yeah, this would be interesting.
Thank you, Mayor. Any questions for the mayor? Okay, thank you. Police Chief, Chen Q.
No report.
Thank you, sir. Solicitor Tom McDermott.
Thank you, nothing to add to my written report.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for the solicitor? Borough Engineer Kevin Brooke.
Nothing additional to what we submitted on our report.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for these? Engineer. No questions? Okay, Fire Chief.
The only thing the fire department has is we responded to 26 calls in the month of May.
Wow. Thank you, sir. South Virginia, Stan.
Nothing to report.
Thank you, sir.
Is there any problem with when the bridge was down, when you had to be here in the Borough Building? Didn't you station an ambulance here,
We did.
and there wasn't any problem?
We had no incidents.
Good.
Bridgeville Historical Society. Mary Ellen.
President Mary Wise would like for you to come to the annual meeting on Tuesday, June 20th, 7:30 p.m. at the Chartiers Room. That will be our annual meeting, but we will also have a program, The Greatest Movies and Best and Worst Celebrities, presented by Ed Blank. The meeting is at 6:45, but the actual program starts at 7:30. Also, we have new caps and shirts for sale. We're open Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays 10 to 2, so we hope you will stop by. Thank you.
Mayor, and then there's no meeting in July and August, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. Bridgeville Library.
Yeah, just in addition to the reading report, I just wanted to reiterate that summer reading started today, so there's lots of great stuff going on in the library. Feel free to check it out. Also, the library board recently appointed a new board member, Jason Ferry, who happens to be here tonight. So we have one more vacancy left that we're working on, but thank you to Joe for graciously advertising that in the Borough newsletter. And just in general, Joe has been wonderful helping us out with a couple of projects at the library, getting some things in order, so we're very appreciative of the support.
Great, thank you. Bridgeville Park Report, Kevin.
Well, we have our parking authority meeting next Monday, June 19th at 7 p.m. We'll be working on an advertisement for a part-time meter enforcement person, be 15 to 20 hours a week, Tuesday through Saturday, so we'll be advertising for that. The budget will be completed in June, so still a working budget, but it took a while. We had to go through a few months to see what we spent to get over the cost. Parking authority took a hit so that the businesses didn't during the bridge closure. So that needed to be made part of the record. We took a hit, but it was better for the businesses, I guess. The lots this Saturday will be turned over to the borough for Multiple Day on the Avenue. And we are still working on, I don't want to say begging, but looking for donations for the military banner program. We had to replace quite a few of the frayed banners. So several people said they would donate. We're still waiting for some of that to come in. So if you've got a couple bucks, it'd be great. And last but not least, happy Father's Day to all the men who are fathers in this building.
Thank you, Deb. Planning Commission, Justine.
All right, well, we did have a steering committee meeting for the comprehensive plan at the beginning before our original planning meeting, and the comprehensive plan is moving along. We anticipate, well, actually, it's on the books now that on August 16th, we will have a public meeting for the residents. And we will be providing both cards with the date and the time and a QR do a survey. One is do it in person, one would be via Zoom, and the other one would be online, doing an online questionnaire. So we hope that we get as many people as possible, all the community members that need to be involved. The draft plan for the comprehensive plan should be available mid-summer, sometime this summer. In regards to the planning meeting, we did have a discussion about the McLaughlin Ballfield Meadow project, and I think maybe Joe may have some updates on that project, because it appears that there's going to be multiple interests in doing a meadow project for McLaughlin Park, and there's a variety of people that are companies, 501c that are interested. Now, I have a question about the Chamber of Commerce. Is there an update from you guys from the Chamber of Commerce and the park, the meadow? The Rotary. I'm sorry,
yes.
Rotary.
Yes, you wanna, yeah, is that?
Go ahead.
So, we're having a meeting with Joe, is it Thursday? Thursday around like 1 o'clock or so, and Gail, you're gonna be there? Yep. So you representatives from Lions Club, Rotary, and kind of figure out the financials, how much money we can put together, and what the initial first stages would be for the project. So kind of go over that, and then we can submit our grant, our proposal for our grant in July, I think the first week of July, so we're on time to get that submitted. And then, based on what matching funds that we can get from, talking to Joe, the grant could be anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000.
Also, too, in regards to the trees, is Bob still here?
No.
Okay. So Joe and I met with Jake from Tree Pittsburgh to take a look at the lot down on Baldwin Street, and it is set to go sometime in September, October for planting of the trees. We will get 10 to 15 smaller trees, as well as 2 larger trees that are actually donated from money from the Pittsburgh Penguins. So there'll be 2 larger trees in the front with a bench. So that is a go. We'll be looking probably for some volunteers. Public Works will probably dig the holes, but it would always be great to have other people, volunteers there.
Yeah, you look at getting anybody from the Penguins Foundation to come help.
I already talked to Jake about that, and I'll follow up on that.
Is it Jake Gensel's name?
Huh?
Jake Gensel? Yeah. That's it, I know the other way.
The other thing is in regards to what Bob Fryer was saying earlier about trees on Washington Avenue. I did speak to the post office, not really one of the managers at the post office, but somebody that I know at the post office, and said the trees probably would be able to be put on the post office property. Then I spoke to someone at the church, and then I did speak to Dave Colton at Memorial Day. Dave said that they would like to discuss trees, that we will talk further as to what's going to happen, the type and so forth. They have security cameras on the property, so whatever they had there before was obstructing the view. So we had to be careful as to what kind of trees go in there. So that's a plus. In rental property, we still are in a very long discussion as to how that should be handled, and we will continue until we feel that there's an answer. So that's it.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Justine? No? Borough Manager Joe Coward.
Just one thing, since our last meeting, the work on Union Street to restore that landslide project has been completed, the road paving and the guardrail. So like we said earlier, Warner's on track for August 1st, but you can cross off the list Union Street's been done.
Perfect. Thank you. New business, we've got zoning ordinance amendment recommendation received from the Bridgeville Planning Commission recommending that parking pads be prohibited in front yards and residential districts. Something you want to discuss?
Well, one of the things that we feel on planning is that a lot of the parking pads are in areas that have very little out property, all right, besides the house. And the problem is that a lot of these parking pads are happening on the main streets, like the gateways into the community. And what happens is that there's no control over them. You see stones, or you see mud in a lot of places, or you see cement pads in front yards. So we just feel that it should be that they're completely prohibited. If they would like to go to zoning, they certainly can go to zoning and see what happens there.
Why? Why go to zoning? I mean, people, in the 50s, when I built the house, it was only 10 cars. Now, maybe they're 2,000. One garage, driveway narrow. I have a people there. There are people residing on the street, and many in Bridgeville. They put a pad to give faculty to not have one-way street, so they help it. Where the heck they're gonna put their car? They try to do that, to put a pad. At least it's clean, it will be no mud or nothing. I mean,
Well, I think
this is ridiculous. What problem, what do people try to do? I like to know. We are in, forget it, it's impossible. They are narrow street. Every family got 3 cars as minimum. Where they gonna park? In front of your home? You got more room? That's where we do that.
So, Nino,
Yes,
if your neighbor went and poured concrete in front of his whole yard, what would you say? Your neighbor next door to you went and poured 9 yards of concrete and just made his whole front yard concrete. Would you have a problem with that?
well, you should have some sort of.
No, wait, yes or no? Would you have yes or no, would you have a problem with that?
Of course I would have a problem.
Then that's why we
But
have
who-
it in there.
But who's gonna do the pad of the whole yard?
What's that?
Who will put crazy to spend $10,000 to do the whole yard?
Go up on Grandview.
Come up on
Wouldn't you need to go get a permit before you do that and get it approved?
Exactly.
So, I mean, that's an extreme, I mean, I think, can I interject? I apologize if I jumped in here. And just say, I think if you're trying to promote off-street parking, to Nino's point, to free up some of the road, people putting a pad kind of, it doesn't, if they put a concrete pad, it doesn't really necessarily make it look bad. If they put gravel, that would be one thing, but I think if people are trying to clear up the roadways and putting their car, and they obviously, like I said, they'd have to go get a permit anyway to get it approved. I think we're deterring people from improving their properties.
So what we have now, you're right, you have to get a permit, but there's nothing in our zoning that says you can't do that. So they can go get a permit and they can just do it. There's nothing in there that says they can't do it.
Can I ask a clarifying question? Yeah, go ahead. So, is this proposal for, like, grandfathering in people who already have pads? Because if you walk up and down the streets.
Yeah, if you already have it in there.
If you already have
So
it.
this, anybody would decide to put a new pad in their driveway or next to their driveway, they'd have to come to the zoning board to get permission, is that correct?
Correct.
To get a variance. And the reason why it's written, the reason why we want to do it this way is because we argued for months and months discussing what's the best way to do it. And we just say, you know what, just make it no parking, no pads in the front yard. And if you do need one, because there are people, Nino, that do need parking, you go to the zoning, get a variance to get that permit, and it's a case by case. And that way you're not having it written where somebody can just go and in concrete their whole front yard.
And there's still the opportunity to put them in their backyards.
Yeah, you can do that, there's nothing.
I think this is setting up, just putting guidelines to what people are taking advantage of.
Exactly.
And I think the opportunity is to objectify the fact that we need to have guidelines for everything we're doing in our community to better it for everyone else. Yes, go ahead.
I was gonna say something. Up in my neighborhood, my next door neighbor, there's no room to put a driveway in. Doesn't have a driveway, he's got a small parking place, and we don't have an alley in the back. So he's screwed. So if he would wanna go get a parking pad, he has to get a variance. I don't think people that are in that situation have to pay a dime for getting the variance for that. So that's just the way I feel, because that guy's been up there for, well, he's at the stage, he's not gonna do it. Somebody moving in there, I mean, that's just doesn't seem right, because they don't have
But
a there.
the thing to say a blanket statement that prohibited any front yard parking, if you wanna make some kind of guidelines and make it part of the ordinance, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But just to say, you have to go,
Like this.
and what's the average cost to go to zoning hearing board?
300.
600 was the last time.
600 now.
There's a commercial price and residential
Right.
price. Residential fees, I think, $75.
I thought it was 300.
Commercial is, I think, $300.
Tom, you got something?
Yeah, and if I could suggest, kind of absorbing all this, and Joe and I had a chance to speak briefly, and have done this other places as well. I think we could put together for you some proposed for the planning commission to look at that kind of, I think, gets to what you're trying to do. For example, in some places, you have some concepts of what's your total front yard coverage going to end up being. Some places allow them perpendicular, kind of, as opposed to parallel. By the way, when you have a situation like your neighbor and others, because you can't put a rule in and then for any reason go to a zoning board, you gotta have some reason or hardship. For folks like that, you can also set up administrative leave, for example. You are entitled to some leave, done elsewhere for ADA purposes. Say you have an elderly person needs that to ingress and egress. The NPC actually provides for that sort of thing. But there's a lot of things that we could give you little bullet points to put in that kind of allows it, but kind of gives you some guidelines for them.
Well, I think that's something that we need to interject with the zoning hearing board, once we approve or unapprove this. That's something that they would need to look at and say, hey, these are the guidelines that we need to put in place for our community. I think our planning commission is coming to us that this is a problem, and it's getting worse, that we need to address because it's making transportation in the community a bit difficult.
And I think I'm addressing your point, give you some points that would help with that. And I don't want, when folks are talking about zoning, I don't want to lend the impression, you're better off with, even if they're simple and applicable and it works for everybody, kind of getting some general guidelines and cover versus, you don't want folks to get the impression, hey, don't worry about it because you can kind of go to the zoning board. Because they'll be impeded. You have to write the rules so that it kind of covers everybody you want to cover, and then only allow somebody to get around it or leave from it under circumstances where you would not, where you would be okay with it.
Isn't that the
ADA
easiest way to just say
situation.
it's prohibited? And then let the zoning hearing board decide from there?
Well, I'm
You're
hearing
telling-
folks don't want to
you're telling
prohibit them
prohibit it.
altogether. Folks are looking
Then you're
for ways
saying,
to kind
well,
of
how do you
better
prevent it?
And Tom, to your point, when we started on this path months and months ago. Joe did give us examples of other communities that did it, and we mulled over all different types of scenarios and what would be best. And we're like, every time, we're like, well, what kind of, we started going down rabbit holes. Well, we should only have this type of material if we're gonna have it. And it's like, no, the reason why we did it this way is because we know that you go up Presley Road and there's nowhere to park. If you go to the zoning and say, look, I want to put a pad here, all we're asking people to do is, if you want a pad, just ask and let them say, yeah, okay. So you don't have people going with no rules at all and just saying, I'm going to go and call Stillhalls up with 8 yards or 9 yards of concrete and cement my whole front yard as a parking lot.
Chief, I think one thing we have to bring up is something we've dealt with a good bit over the years too, is that if somebody wants to park in their front yard on grass, they can do it with no rules against it. So to conversely
say, what if this guy wants to cement his whole front yard, well, what if I was your neighbor and wanted to park 4 vehicles in my front yard and look like crap because then you're leaving ruts? That's a problem to have.
I know.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. I mean, it's been a few years since I was on council, but we never had a rule that you can't pull your car right up in your front lawn and just leave it there. I mean, it looks terrible, but we have no rules. We still don't, I don't believe.
I am not speaking for myself. I have a driveway I can land an helicopter there. I speak for the rest of the people.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, really, come on.
We fill our driveway.
Let's be a little more with.
Hey, Nina, hey, we're just the planning commission. We made a recommendation. You can vote it down. You know, you can say what not to say no.
Your job and you're doing
You know?
well.
And you know,
Peter split up my back.
we talked at length about this parking path, all right? Now, thing of it is that we we need to consider everybody in this community, regardless of whether or not they have parking or not. So we need to listen to what the people have to say. However, at some point, there has to be some, in only my opinion, there has to be some restriction so that the appearance of the community improves.
I mean, the stud park, some of the people that park in the grass that I just heard, they'll be, soon you're gonna prohibit to park in the grass because there'll be mud on the street. So, let's,
Well,
I know you care, I
this
know you
isn't-
care for Bridgeville, I know you do care, otherwise you will make all these suggestions. But we gotta be
So,
realistic.
hang on
But-
for 1 second. So there was a house that I grew up, when I lived on McLaughlin Road and grew up on. Those people on McLaughlin Road never had, few of them had garages or places to park. Where did they park? On the street. All right? So, then now they have a gravel parking lot in their front of their house. So, which would you rather have? Parking on
Where
the
do you,
street?
where do you want those people to park?
On the street. There's there's lines that are marked on the
Our
street.
streets, they are not big, they're not large enough. Let's spend some money and enlarge us, Missouri Avenue, Creeksville, May Avenue, let's make it 3-lane, so we can park over there. There's one way. Many streets in Bridgeville, they are one way. You have to wait for the car to come in. You have to wait for the car to come out. It become a one-way street. Come on, let's put that together here.
On a positive
I
note,
think we
just
should put
allow
some
parking on the
guidelines.
street.
That line, yeah, there would be.
Not just make a blanket statement. I think there needs to be some guidelines and then deal with it from there. And if people want something different what the guidelines are, then they can go to the zoning hearing. But the Tom's comment was, you're sending them right to the zoning hearing board, and that's.
No, I was just cautioning you.
Yeah, I'm
It's a
saying you can't really,
situation
you
where
shouldn't do that,
you're-
yeah. You should have guidelines before you get to that point. And according to this, if they go to the zoning hearing board and it says, the borough says you're prohibited to have any parking, they don't have any guidelines to go either way for variances, so.
Yeah,
This
technically
has been a
speaking.
very painful, 4 months.
Oh, I know, I've listened to the
So it's
conversations.
been long,
Yeah.
and I don't want to speak for planning commission, but being through this for 4 or 5 months of the same conversation, it's not the recommendation from planning commission to council is not to prohibit them. It's to prohibit them in the front yards, just trying to steer people to put them in their backyards. And they've been down this rabbit hole for months, and it wasn't very easy for them to just say this. It was months and months and months of Monday nights here at almost 10 o'clock talking about this. It's really hard. So that's what I got to this.
In the minutes, in the past, has it been in the minutes?
Uh-huh.
Why is this the first time we're hearing people against it or giving them comments?
Now it's
Because now you've wasted planning commission's time for the last at least 6 months. If we would have known, if the planning commission would have known, they wouldn't have wasted all that time. Or have some direction. I mean, we all know that it was in the minutes about that subject. It could have been brought up a lot sooner and saved a lot more of their time. That's, I
They,
think different.
they were talking about different services, different
Different
roles and everything.
between the two, doing it or not. But it, I mean, I sat through those meetings listening to it, and
So do I. So, but to me, there should be some guidelines set first, and then go from there.
the guideline they have is in the front yard.
I think
Well, it's prohibiting it.
I think that is the guideline.
That was the guideline.
Well, then you can't tell them to go to zoning hearing to change it.
Well, there's always extenuating circumstances within any code of ordinance that allows you to change those on a need basis.
Well, clearly, I think it sounds like we've got to have some sort of compromise or at least an additional discussion on this. They've come forward with a recommendation, and it's clear that there's not full support of it, the way it's written at this point. So I think what we do need to do is have some further discussion. Where should we put this in a committee? Nick? Want to take it from the administration?
I think we need to have an executive session maybe before our next meeting. Or have a committee meeting to see if there's guidelines with Joe that we want to try to establish. Council wants to send
Get
any ideas
feedback
to Joe before.
I don't know what other,
Yeah, I'll get, Joe and I'll get some,
Yeah,
trying to
okay.
give you some guidance on what you can do, what you can't do, what you recommend do.
If the
feedback.
council, okay, to have a joint meeting upon this subject here, invite one of the planning commission, and we work things out to the best way possible for everybody. As I say, I have a plenty room. That doesn't matter. We have another 5,000 people. They don't have that room. So we have to think about that. We'll never be Shadyside. We'll never be Mount Lebanon. We'll
Why
never
not?
be Upper Single.
Nino, why not? You say never. Why can't we be the community we want to be? Why are we
What
waiting?
are we gonna do with the people?
Wait,
We're
no,
gonna
hold
grab
on.
it.
No, I'm gonna argue with you here, Nino. Why can't we be the community
Oh, we
we want
could
to
be,
be?
yes, but not that way, because
You
it'll be a mess.
don't think communities like Mount Lebanon have rules like this?
They do.
They do.
Absolutely they do.
I can move to Upper St. Clair because I can't hang my laundry out.
Yeah, you can put your brother
So
with
it's
us.
if I may, this is
I like my
hypothetical,
Yeah.
okay? If there is another touchy discussion that planning has, I have my hat on as chair of the planning commission. We have another touchy subject to debate amongst planning. Should we handle that in a similar circumstance?
yeah, listen, you guys, the planning commission, there's no need to bring the planning commission to this
Yeah.
because you've made your recommendation.
Yeah.
All right, the recommendation is, I'm assuming you all agreed with the recommendation.
Otherwise it
You
would
brought
be
it
great.
forward to council. That doesn't mean we have to decide on it right now.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that we have to approve anything you bring forward. It's for discussion, and this is a healthy discussion. Listen, if it took you guys 6 months to figure it out, we shouldn't have to figure it out in 10 minutes, right? Right. So we should have some more discussion about it. So let's leave it at that, and Nick, let's take it into the administration committee, have some discussion, hear what some of the other solutions were that they talked about, so that we have an informed for those that weren't at the meetings or didn't read the packets.
We do it jointly with public safety too, because it's a safety issue in several parts of the town that prohibit people from putting their parking in that.
I agree. You and I will together on 7 meetings.
You could check with the attorney, or else you could have
If you guys, we could even invite you guys to the kind of work we have to
whoever
committee.
can attend the council, or whoever can attend it, I don't know.
All right, we'll leave it there. We're gonna put it in the administration, they can work with public safety and discuss it. But we should act on this, we should act on the recommendation. The planning commission is here to bring issues like this forward. They did the hard work of kicking it around for as long as they did. Now we have to think about this. This council wants to take it With that,
Hold on.
anything else for new business?
I have a very important day on Saturday for dunk tank festivities. Councilman Nick is gonna be there. Somehow I was coaxed into doing it. Mr. Tolmer is, Devlin Robinson, Mandy Pryor, and her intern, Skylar, Savansky, and Rocco Koza, who's an attorney in the area. Somehow I twisted his arm as well as one of his attorneys. So.
Is it regular?
Oh, silly me, and our chief has a new outfit he's wearing in the dunk tank. So, our fire chief, not our police.
Oh.
I corrected it.
I was gonna pay to see that.
Not gonna be there this year. But all the money goes to the Rotary's scholarship fund, and we picked our chili cook-off weekend. It is September 17th. It's a Sunday that the Steelers do not play on. So we'll be a little smarter than we were last year because we got the Rotary Pavilion for that weekend.
Fairview Park. Anything else under new business?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll take a second for adjournment.
Second.
All in favor?
Uh,
Opposed? Okay.